Good morning, class. Did everyone have a nice weekend?
Yes!
Would anyone like to share one exciting thing they did over the weekend?
I got to go to the fire station.
Very exciting. Okay, so it's been a whole day since we've talked about food chains, and I know, not a whole day, sorry, a whole weekend, and I know that it can be hard to remember things over the weekend, so I thought we would do a really quick review from our last lesson so that everything will be fresh in our mind. So if we remember from last week, our objectives were that we are going to create a food chain, and we are going to be able to define predator, prey, producer, and consumer. And I know you may not remember those, so that's why we're going to review, because those are big words. So for the first review, does everyone remember when we put our cards in order, right? And we picked the order of, we picked that the lettuce came first, and then we said the rabbit.
Yeah.
And then we said the coyote, and then we said the lion. Does everybody remember that?
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions on why the order is this way?
No, because no.
Okay, can somebody tell me why we put the lion where we put it?
We put the lion at the bottom of the thing because, I mean, though he eats like all of those things, all the lettuce is what gives like everything in that energy.
So we could also put it in this order as the lion being the most ferocious, you would say, right?
Yeah.
Like he would hunt everything on this list.
Yeah. But we did it so the sun gave the lettuce energy, and then the lettuce gave the bunny energy. That's
Good.
what we did.
Okay. So I'm going to go over one more thing from our chain. What would happen? Sorry, it's out of order. What would happen if I took the coyote out? What if there was a forest fire and all the coyotes in this region got killed off?
Well,
let's put it this way. Would our lion be able to survive?
Probably not very long.
Probably not. Not with, say, if all species like coyotes were killed off from his food chain. He probably would not be able to find enough bunnies to stay satisfied, right? His tummy would not be full.
There would be a lot of bunnies.
Yes, because there would be no coyotes to eat all the bunnies, right? So there would be an overpopulation of bunnies, and the lions would not have enough prey to hunt. So, going into that, if we remember what all those vocabulary terms mean, we're going to review and refresh what predator and prey mean so we can move on to our next activity. Okay, so if everyone wants to look up to the projector, we are going to go over. Remember our picture from our warm-up from our very first lesson? Before I told you what we were going to be learning about?
Mm-hmm.
So before we move on, I'm just going to see, can we explain why the tree is the smallest on this food chain? We kind of went over this with the cards, but just to reiterate, why would the tree be the smallest?
Because, well, like, most of the time, like, smaller animals eat from a tree.
Right.
And like the bigger ones don't do that, but
the
tree has to be there.
The tree has to be in the beginning. So even though it's small, and plants usually aren't the biggest things, even though there's trees and other things, the plant has to be in the beginning because without the plant, we couldn't go up in our levels.
Yeah.
Is everyone okay with that? Thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down? Good, okay. So we discussed that plants are producers because they make their own food. So they don't have to find their own food. They get all their energy from the sun and it helps them grow. And then the little bunny comes and eats from the producer because it makes its own food. Yes, Andy?
That's called photosynthesis.
Correct. The energy that plants get from the sun is photosynthesis. Thank you, Amy. Great fact. Okay. We also discussed that a consumer is an animal that eats other animals. So say our little bunny rabbit, not our bunny rabbit, our coyote, because he eats other bunny rabbits, and a bunny rabbit is an animal, it would be classified as a consumer. Also, a bunny would be classified as a consumer because it eats plants. So anything that eats plants or animals is a consumer. So, would a human be a consumer?
Yes.
Yes, because to survive, we eat
Plants and animals.
good. Some people don't eat animals, but we definitely eat one or the other. Okay, and the last thing we talked about last week is that a predator is an animal that eats other animals. So our lion, who hunts our coyote, will be classified as a predator because in our minds, coyotes would be scared of the lion because the lion's main objective is to hunt the coyote. Does that make sense? The coyote, and then we talked about a prey. So the bunny rabbit is being hunted by what?
The coyote.
Good. So the coyote is looking for the bunny, so it is classified as prey because it is being eaten by other animals. So,
consume.
yes,
Consume.
very nice. Okay, so I'm going to pass out a worksheet, and don't be scared off because I'm not going to make you do it on your own. We're going to do it as a class so that everyone is on the same page. So if everyone could look at their worksheet and put their name at the top, please. And we're going to go over these answers together because it's not really a test yet because we just learned the material. So I want everyone to know what we're talking about. So if everyone could look at number 1, we're going to talk about, it says, and blank is all the living and non-living things in an area. So if we look at our choices, who would like to volunteer and say what they think fits in that space? Andy?
Could you say like organisms?
Let's try it. Let's see if that sounds right. An organism is all the living and non-living things in an area. Sorry, this is from all of our previous lessons, so we might have to dig a little deeper to think of our vocab. So if anyone needs a refresher on a word, please let me know. So what are we thinking now?
But I don't think it's organism because it says non-living things.
Right.
So I think it's ecosystem.
Good, great. So if everyone can fill that in, we're only going to do a few, and then we're going to come back to it later because we don't need to go through all of them right now. So number 2, a blank blank is a transfer of energy through a series of organisms that use each other as food. Does anyone have any guesses into what that would be? Andy?
Food chain.
Food chain. Good. We'll just do one more, and then we're going to move on to a different activity. So number 3, a blank is any living thing. So now we can go back to what we talked about in the first one.
Organism.
Organism, because anything that is living can be classified. Good. Okay, so everyone should have 1 through 3 filled out, and you can put that to the side, and we'll come back to it in a little while. So we're going to do one more little activity, and you guys should be very good at this. So these are the same pictures that were on our 4 cards. You have the bunny, the plant, the coyote, and the lion. I simply want you to label them as producer, consumer, predator, and prey. There's only one choice for each picture, even though the animal may be more than one thing. But I want you to pick what you think fits best for the picture. Does everyone understand? Okay, so you get started on that. I'm going to walk around and help anyone who needs some assistance.
With the 22nd.
Okay.
I'm doing good. I guess I could switch.
Okay, so let's see. Why did you say the bunny
Because doesn't he get eaten by this one?
is He does.
Okay.
Yes.
I have it.
Good. Okay.
These ones can be switched,
Like I said,
and
yes.
they both make sense.
And these ones both make the best sense. Okay. So before our last activity, I want one. I'm just going to go over one, just to get a feel for how you guys are doing. So can someone tell me what they named the coyote? Andy?
I named the coyote a consumer.
Okay.
Yeah, because he eats the bunny.
Good. And he also could potentially eat.
The lettuce.
Yeah, not lettuce, but a different.
Oh, a different.
He probably wouldn't, but all else failed. Good. Okay, so we will go over the rest of the answers when we have more time. So I want everyone to stand up and do a wiggle, and we're going to do a fun little activity. So put everything away, and we're going to have a big group, potentially in a real class. This will be fun. Okay. So I'm going to put out. We're going to start really small, just 4 cards. So that is grass. This is a grasshopper, or representing any kind of bug. This is a bird, and this is an owl. So I want you to take this piece of string, and we're going to put the string in the order of what the food chain would look like. So I'll hold it. Oh wait, I missed one card. Yikes. 1 minute, please. Okay, so now we have all the cards.
It's supposed to be
So can anyone tell me where this food chain would start so we can get our string moving? Andy?
the sun.
Good. So I'm going to hold it here, and then where would you put this food chain next? Or where would the string go in this food chain next? Grass. Good. Right? So why would you take it to the grass?
Because, well, most animals, because, well, the plants need the sun to survive.
And to produce,
And to
right?
produce,
That's one of
yeah.
our key terms. Good. So where would our chain go next from the grass? Which one of our organisms uses the grass to survive?
Grass only. I was thinking a bird uses grass, but they also eat bugs.
Okay. Very good point. So, if you watch our food chain, right here, I'm going to get another string because our food chain can start with many things and go in many directions. So does everyone see what I'm trying to represent? Our food chain can go from the sun to the grass to the grasshopper, or from the sun to the grass to the bird. So now where are we going?
So is this like a food web now? Or
Very good observation. So what our question later on was going to be was, what do the colors of the strings represent? So if we have multiple strings, Andy already helped us out and said that our strings, if we have multiple, represent a food web. And a single string is a
the
food
chain.
chain. Good. So let's move our chain. Where would it go from? Let's start with the orange. Where would it go from the bird?
to
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a bird would eat it first. Normally we would be holding the string outside, and it would look like a giant web, but for time's sake. And then from the grasshopper we go to.
Remember the owl?
Redo. Okay, from the bird, what organism would eat a bird to
Oh,
survive?
right, because
Yes.
I was thinking of the other chain.
Yes.
Okay, so owls eat little birds.
Good. So that would be the end of the orange chain, and let's finish our pink chain.
Okay, so now from our
From
pink chain, we go to the little bird.
to the bird, and
then
then
to that bird we go to the other.
good. So then we have our complete two food chains, which is also a food web. So we're going to do one more, and then we will end for the day. A little more complicated one. Oh, where is it? We won't finish the whole thing, but I just want to have one more question for you. So where would our first food chain start?
The sun.
Good. Okay, so start with pink. And then where could we go from there?
We could go to other plants.
Okay. Pink to the grass, and we'll go orange to the flower.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
So then, from the flower, you could go to the bee.
Okay.
Because bees use pollen.
Good. And from the, what about from the grass?
You could go to the bunny.
Okay. Good. And from the bunny or the bee?
Well, from the bunny, you could do a fox.
Good. Okay.
I don't really know what. I think that's not really bee foxes very often.
Where could we go from the bee? Think of it as any kind of bug. It doesn't have to be a bee.
Well, snakes eat
Okay,
bugs.
so we're going to go to the snake.
Ooh, and I've seen a raccoon eat a snake before.
Good. So we're going to go from the snake to a raccoon.
And I guess if you're desperate, a human could eat a fox.
So what if
and
a fox was a...
Oh wait, a fox could eat a raccoon.
Okay, good. This is as far as I needed to get us to go. So one last thing I want to talk about before recess is what would happen if I took out the snake. All the snakes got killed off. What would happen to our streams?
Well, they would stop.
They would stop, and also the raccoon
Yeah.
would not be able to survive, right?
Yeah.
Same as if I took out our bee and our rabbit. I mean, yeah, if I took out the fox. Okay, if I took out everything that was larger, the only things that would be left
Were the
the smaller consumers and the producers.
So there'd just be a lot of them, and all those ones would be gone.
Good. Okay, so I think everyone got what we were trying to represent, and we will work more